Indiana Jones, It's a podcast about Indiana Jones. Every movie, 1 minute at a time. Indiana Jones Minute.
Welcome back to the Indiana Jones Minute. This is the podcast where, if you permit us, we discuss Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade one stolen flower at a time. I'm Pete Mummert.
I'm Tom Taylor.
I'm Gerald. I don't know. I'm Jerry.
Well, and today we're also joined by our good buddy Jamie, Jamie Binning of Filmumentary's fame. I absolutely love his work. Welcome back, Jamie.
Jamie Mother's Ears Benning, thank you.
Perfect.
And to whom does the rest belong? Well, today we're going to be discussing minute 27. Minute 27 begins with Elsa revealing that she's got a thing for Indy's parents, and it ends with Brody mentioning that a converted church looks like a converted church.
Yeah, so at the end of last minute, we ended right with, this, what we decided was pretty awkward banter about, oh, you've got your father's eyes, I got my mother's ears, and the rest belongs to you. And she comes back at the beginning of this minute with, it looks like the best parts have already been spoken for.
By her.
And I need the three... is that what I don't understand the line. Is that what she's saying? Or like, I don't get it at all.
I thought she meant that, your eyes and your ears are your best thing.
Yeah.
Looks like there's nothing. Yeah, it looks like there's not much left.
Yeah, your chin's all messed up. It's got a scar.
Yeah, I think she's
you have your hair, you're wearing a hat.
Yeah, she's playfully insulting him.
Yeah,
which I like.
I don't want your gallbladder.
Yeah. Oh, is that what? You think so? She thinks she's being playful and kind of
she's
down a
she's
little bit?
yeah. That's exactly what I think she's doing.
Oh, I wish it read that way because that sounds kind of nice, but I don't. I didn't get that from it at all.
If you look at Indy's response, he smiles like, "Oh, okay, douche."
Yeah. And the dude behind Brody as well is really interested.
Yeah. Well, in the script, too, it says Indy grins, enjoying the repartee.
Uh-huh.
And then it says she turns to Brody, and Brody tips his hat, which isn't quite how it plays out.
Which annoys Indy no end. He makes his face as soon as Marcus butts in. He's like, ugh.
I can't stand this. I still, and I'm not going to let it go. I'm still riding this Bronco. Look. I mean, Indy is so struck that, he forgets that Marcus is even there. And then when Elsa introduces herself to Marcus, you're like, yeah, properly, as you're supposed to. You know what I mean? Indy is like, oh, damn it, I got old man Jared all with me. He's making me smell like mothballs.
I wasn't sure if he was annoyed that Marcus is there, if he's annoyed that this is Dr. Schneider.
No, why would that annoy him?
Yeah, he's mad Marcus is there.
Okay.
And see
he's getting interrupted.
Maybe he's got a feeling that she likes older men. And
Is he upset that Marcus is being suddenly very charming? Like he tips his hat in a very charming
He takes his hat off and everything like a gentleman.
Yeah. Well, after Indy's line, I mean, you would find Marcus. You'd be like, yeah, forget this chump.
Well, when he takes his hat off, he reveals his eyes and his ears. So maybe he's saying, "Hey, my eyes and ears are still mine."
I got my uncle's ears and my great grandmother's. I don't know.
It's just. I think that's why my Doppler radar for the Marcus forecast went up to warning because it's just.
See, I still don't get that.
Well, there's now two.
What's
scenes.
he doing wrong?
Well, it's not so much it's just the treatment of Marcus is it's a drag that he's here. And Indy shows that. He shows that right here. He rolls his eyes.
Right. But that's because Indy is flighty and weird and not even paying attention to what he's supposed to be paying attention to. And Marcus is I said this a while ago, I think. Marcus is like Watson in this. He's with this supposedly, he's not Watson at all because Sherlock Holmes is actually brilliant and he notices stuff and he actually follows clues and things. But he's with the hero and he's almost like the more on task guy. like keeping everybody, on the straight and narrow and stuff. And nothing that he does here is un-Marcus to me. He takes off his dad. He's a gentleman. He's all business.
His dad, I think Indy's dad has kind of always had him around to keep him in check. And I think Marcus is used to Indy kind of following after women like this, and Marcus is always trying to keep him in check. Like I think Marcus has seen this over and over and over.
Look,
and he's like, oh boy, here goes Indy again.
That's not the Marcus we met. That's all I'm saying.
It's not?
He's Indy's boss.
Yeah.
He's Indy's boss, and he's the guy who gets the ticket done with the top men. Because Indy can't. Or you got to understand, he comes into Indy's house, and Indy goes, "You did it, Marcus. You did it."
Yeah. But I don't get how this guy here that we're seeing in this scene is not that guy.
Because he's inept, and he's
inept?
He's in the background, and Indy's upset that he's there. Like, Indy is upset that he's there, and as this minute 27 progresses, we'll see more indications of how frustrated and upset he is that Marcus is literally a third wheel. He's a tag along.
In Raiders at Marshall College in sunny Connecticut, when they were talking about, like, I got these, they're good pieces, Marcus, they're worth the price of a ticket to Marrakesh. If they were having that scene and Susie Cute Skirt walked in, there would have been the exact same dynamic going on. He would have been like, just a minute, Marcus. I know we're talking about something cool and interesting, but I got to chase this skirt for a second.
But you know what? They deleted that scene.
They did delete that scene.
They deleted that scene, and it worked.
They literally did.
They did. So,
but I think Marcus is just annoyed because he's used to always being the guy. Well, Indy's here he goes again. I got to kind of try to keep him on task.
Yeah.
And that annoys Indy because Indy's like, I don't want to be on task.
Yeah. I think this is a solid Marcus. I don't know.
Look,
we'll put it to the people.
I feel like this is one of those Jake Lloyd, what does this button do minutes. It's like, does Marcus do...
That's
yeah.
damning.
Well, is Marcus going to do anything in this movie? He's Marcus. Is he going to do anything of any substance at all? And I'm just nervous.
You're going to have plenty of time, and I'm going to agree with you down the line to say this kind of stuff. I think you're jumping the gun a little.
Yeah, on first view, I don't think that comes into your mind. I think it's knowing what you know after. Yeah.
Well, I'll just go back to my tetramorphs.
I'm just stuck on this freeze frame here, 5 seconds in, where her hair is glowing as if she's Rapunzel from Tangled or something, and that's the only thing in light. Dougie Slocum is a real master of using natural light, of course. So he's doing a hell of a job there.
Well, can I ask a very controversial question that just occurred to me? And I don't even know what my answer to this is. Is she the most beautiful of the Bond women? Not Bond women, Indy women, Jones women. What do they call her?
I guess conventionally, so yeah, Indy women.
She is beautiful. She's really beautiful.
I think.
She's a very different kind of beautiful.
Yeah, she's a very different kind of beautiful. She's beautiful.
See, I was 13 by this time, so yes is the answer.
Yeah. I guess I'm still trying to figure out like why she doesn't stick as much in people's minds.
Because it's the treatment of her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's also 1989, and a lot of us were a lot older at that point.
And Willie was annoying, but she didn't side with the Nazis. I mean,
wait
that's
a minute.
Lot to forgive.
I have to finish the movie, but is there any time when you go, God, Elsa's awesome? But, I mean, you feel that way about Marion many times. You don't feel that way about Willie ever.
She's never over the top awesome.
Yeah,
right.
I like her here. Mm-hmm. And I think Alison Duty's doing an amazing job, and she's beautiful, and she's great, and she's the whole thing. She's kind of down to brass tacks. Mm-hmm. She flirts a pinch, and she puts Indy in his place, and then she's like, "Here's the church. This is what's up with your dad. Here are the bullet points." Yeah. Do
you think that if they're like, we had a hard time with the banter last minute? Do you think if that kind of banter and going into this minute, if that was all rock solid and like Spencer Tracy and Katharine Hepburn kind of stuff, would we just love her right off the bat, and that would carry us through the rest of the movie, and she'd be better remembered?
No.
All right.
No, I think,
asked and answered.
I mean, I think it's just how they treat the dynamic with. It's the same problem. Look, it's the love interest or romance interest. Look at the dynamic with Indy and Marion. Look at the dynamic with Indy and Willie. Look at the dynamic with Indy and Elsa. It's the dynamic. Like, do you believe it? Is it real? You know, does it make sense?
Well,
Is there something solid here?
Well, we also in Raiders and in Temple of Doom, we don't have a character like Indy's dad who sort of takes a lot of the thunder, the gusto away from other characters in the movie. And so I think when you focus on Last Crusade, I think you immediately think of Indy and his dad.
You're right.
And we're also at this point, we shouldn't be trusting her even at this point, should we? I mean, she's wow, she's beautiful, but she's slightly suspicious. She's answering him back. She doesn't seem that interested in him. She kind of goes over his shoulder to introduce herself to Marcus. And so, I don't know, right. I think we're already trying, as an audience, to work out, is she good or bad?
Yeah. And even like throughout the movie, like in Raiders, Raiders, Indy and Marion have a history, and she's spunky and awesome. And then in Temple of Doom, like he and Willie are like actively hating each other and like trying not to get together and stuff. So that at least makes a kind of interesting dynamic. And then here, she's kind of along for the ride, and like they're freely making out later on and stuff. Spoilers, and then she turns into a bad guy, which I guess should be more interesting and kind of is, but yeah, maybe it's just like their relationship isn't as
I don't.
But part of that is Indy. She's the first time that Indy's faced a love interest who's also a professional rival.
Oh,
Yeah.
Like she's the first one that's able to sort of compete with him on his own turf.
Yeah, that's true. But even that should make it more interesting. That should be like that on paper that sounds really cool and like.
But
she'd do the little lip smack that Donovan did or something like, check out this thing.
I think you nailed it, Pete. I think by having Indy's dad in the movie, it just he takes up too much volume.
Yeah.
She's a little shoved to the side a little bit.
Because it's hard to remember Donovan too, and he's a fantastic character. Like I think a lot of these characters are great characters, but because Indy's dad is such a towering presence, that's what you come away with from the movie thinking about.
They do sit a little flat, don't they? Yeah.
Elsa also really does not seem very concerned that her partner, right, her partner has disappeared. I mean, wouldn't you either? I would think you'd be more worried, or even if you're in on the whole kidnapping Nazi thing, like wouldn't you act a little bit more worried?
Yeah. Fake it a little bit.
She's kind of like, she's kind of handing out the minutes. Yeah, I was, we were sitting here. He told me to go to the map room and get some old maps about the city, and then I came back and he was gone.
But she does say, she says he was as giddy as a schoolboy, and then Indy also isn't acting at all like he's concerned about his dad. When he says, who, Attila the Professor? He was never giddy even when he was a schoolboy.
Yeah, that jerk.
Which, by the way, is a great line because the legend is that Venice was founded by people trying to escape from Attila the Hun, and so they built this city of reeds in the middle of the lagoon. So I like that. It's like a little bit of...
That's hilarious.
That's funny. Like the flower shop seller should be over here. Like, hey, too soon.
Yeah, exactly. So with the flower shop thing, this is weird. Like Indy, this is where it really gets cringeworthy for me. Is Indy steals the flower and he does this little prance kind of dance step, and it's just bizarre. It's not. That's the least Indiana Jones thing I've ever seen. And then Marcus looks back. And wait, did he just do that? Which I love this Marcus. He's like, did he really just steal a flower from this woman?
Yeah.
And then Indy looks back at Marcus like, don't you dare open your mouth.
Don't ruin this for me.
But is Indy a kleptomaniac?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of. Whether it's Arks of Covenants or
stealing virginity.
Or stealing flowers, both figurative and literal.
I wondered, because that's Indy, that was probably one of those $5,000 ghost orchids.
Oh yeah, yeah,
yeah.
It's it is. Does that? I mean, does him stealing the flower, does it make him kind of smooth and suave, or does it make him like, oh, that dude's a cheapskate?
I'm not on his side when he does that.
I'm not either.
Somebody's trying to make a living selling flowers. Yeah. He's like, screw that guy. I got a flower.
But the way it plays, it plays like he's supposed to be kind of charming, and then it plays like Marcus is kind of like, did he just do that? Like Marcus is kind of like the doddery, the stodgy old guy. Yeah.
Does this were the directors trying to do one of those old, like, 1930 charming black and white, like, say,
Yeah.
oh, there's a dame here. Was that kind of like they're walking down...
There's a speed limit in the state.
Exactly. Like they're walking down Broadway and the guy's trying to be charming. And does it just kind of not come off?
Yeah.
Is that what's
I think
happening
that's exactly
here?
it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Well, where does Indy get these lines? Like, he does that prance when he goes up the stairs, and then he says, Fräulein, will you permit me? And who says that? Like, especially Indiana Jones wouldn't say that.
Right. You know what sucks? I'm going to be honest here. That sounds like me in high school. Like not being natural at all. Just kind of like slipping into something that sounds like it's from a movie or something and just falling flat on my face. I just got sad.
We're kind of
existentially sad.
That is sad. We were expected here to kind of see that he's met his match in a way, and he's trying to catch up with her, isn't he, up the bridge there, and he's trying to impress her even by stealing something, even though he knows Marcus is going to frown upon it. But we're supposed to think that he's met his equal here, or his better. But I just don't get it. I just don't see it in her. I don't know if she's just not as convincing as maybe they were intending in this scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it doesn't help that the banter is still really awkward.
Oh, it's
like,
so
this
awkward.
whole, like, will you permit me? I usually wouldn't. Like she says, I normally don't. Like, I wouldn't permit somebody to give me a flower. But then she does permit him because he usually doesn't give people flowers.
You kind of have to watch it several times to get everything that they say. I remember as a kid, I very much glossed over this part. I didn't really notice this part as a kid.
See, I sort of thought, like, was that the point? Is that trying to illustrate that they're both sexually conservative? She's like, I don't. She's like, I usually don't, and he says, I usually don't either. And
well,
then
he said the same thing to Willie.
He's already offered himself up to her, don't forget.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
right. He just gave her his entire body, except for his ears.
And I think she's trying to come across as kind of cold.
Except for his ears.
Yeah.
Don't touch my ears.
Yeah, it's my mom's. Lay off. You're sick. What's the matter with you?
Oh my God.
But then Marcus, I mean, say what you want. He's the hero of this minute, at least. Because all this ridiculous banter's going on. He's like, would you guys shut up? We're trying to do something here.
Yeah, I love that.
He's
and he
awesome.
sounds really annoyed. Like, this sounds like a Marcus who's in charge.
Exactly.
Like, I hate to interrupt, but the reason we're here, and it's like, he's saying, shut up, Indy. We're not here for this.
Yeah.
And Elsa's face just goes so cold when he does that.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Like she got in trouble.
Well, I didn't know if it was that or if she was putting on an act in the first place, and now she's like going back to her normal self, and she's gonna.
Well, see, that's what I don't like. The Marcus interjecting here, interrupting is great, but what I don't like is Indy is literally like, "Oh my God, can we get rid of Ben Gay over here?" And
well, it sounds like you're annoyed with Indy and not Marcus.
Well, but it's.
You're taking your anger out on poor Marcus.
I guess I don't like the dynamic between the two of that. Like, they're drawing Indy really awkwardly and strange. I get that he likes women. That's fine. That's great. Mm-hmm. That's fine. But here, they're just drawing it really. He's like, I was excited to have Marcus on the trip, and now my hero is really upset that Marcus is on the trip because he's a boat anchor. It's, smells of preparation H or whatever.
Although, to be fair, if you're not watching this minute by minute, I think a lot of that annoyance kind of you breeze past it. You don't really pick up on it necessarily.
Uh-huh.
So I think we're doing Indy and Marcus and ourselves a disservice by even doing this podcast. Let's quit. This is ruining the movie. Let's stop.
We're done.
Sorry to waste your time.
I'm gonna change the subject here for a minute. Because I love Venice, and this bridge they're walking over is one of my favorite things in Venice. It's called the Bridge of Fists.
Whoa.
And back in the 1600s, they used to have these giant battles on this bridge. And these two, like, rival clans would have fist fights. And enormous crowds would flock here, and they'd all be sitting in boats in the canal here, and they'd all be gathered on top of the roofs all around. And if you walk across this bridge, and if you pause the movie at a certain point, you can actually see their marble footprints on all four corners of the bridge.
Oh, wow.
And that's where the guys would start the fist fight. And they would try to knock each other off of the bridge. And then another guy would come and take their place. So this was like the first cage match.
That's awesome.
Oh, my God.
And there's a great painting from Joseph Heinz that I'll put on the listeners' crusade of one of these fights going on, and they were amazing. Like it was a huge, basically citywide boxing fight, and then eventually they turned into knife fights and they outlawed them. But at the time, this was just a fun kind of way for people to have these giant battles.
Wow, that's crazy. Wow.
That is.
It's an education being on here.
See?
There is one thing that's interesting about this flower little scene. I like that Elsa is sad because she says by tomorrow Indy's gift flower will have already faded. Mm-hmm. And I thought to myself, well, no wonder she's jonesing for the Holy Grail.
Yeah. That's a nice line.
She can't process life's ephemerality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought, that kind of makes sense. It's not like Nazis are good Buddhists.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Just want it all forever.
Yeah.
Period.
So you just want it. Yeah. So, but I did wonder, was that a little bit, you're like, oh, she's going for the Holy Grail because, like, the impermanence of life, even in this flower.
I love that.
That's nice.
She needs to stop sleeping with old men as well, even
Yeah,
even if they are only 12 years older.
Yeah. I also like Indy's response to her is like, well, then tomorrow I'll just steal another one for you.
You know he will. He's got it in him.
He's a piece of work, this guy.
Yeah. That's when Brody just gets fed up, and that's when he interrupts. He's like, I can't take this anymore.
I keep thinking, what are the odds that the same guy with the beige suit on is going to walk past the guy they walk past on the boat as they come off the boat? It's the same dude.
Oh, really? Oh,
it's
it is.
Dude.
It's another Belloc.
Well, see, I think, there's 4 Bellocks and a Panama hat.
Yeah.
Walking by. I see. I'm wondering if there's some sort of highfalutin grave robbers convention going on.
Yeah.
That's why they have to stay in an apartment. All the hotels are all filled up with the convention.
So she gives Indy a scrap of paper that she said when his dad left, he sent her to fetch an ancient map of part of the city. And when she came back, he was gone except for this scrap of paper. Yeah. How do you think she actually got the scrap of paper? Do you think she stole it from him before they kind of walloped him? Or do you think he was unconscious and they pried it out of his fingers? Or how do you think they got this?
She says that it was just on the chair or something or on the floor. But that.
But that's implying that he disappeared and she didn't know what happened.
Right. So but based on that story, she just sort of found it sitting there. But you're saying what actually happened?
Yeah,
she saw an important looking clue, and when they clobbered him, she took it.
And why is she giving it to Indy? Does she think, well, this is the only guy that can solve this puzzle?
Could have been in his pants when they were hanging off the back of her sofa, maybe.
He was going through looking for stuff. Oh, look at this. Oh, he's got VD. Great.
Sorry to keep revisiting this, but this happened, okay? We need to come to terms with this.
Part of the movie.
Exactly. Part of the movie.
Fair game.
Going on what they're giving us.
It is weird. Again, a piece of paper with Roman numerals on it. Does that even look like a clue? Is there any... we sort of see the sheet, the piece of paper later on, but not very clearly, at least as far as I could see. It's like... I don't know if you'd see that and go, oh, this is an important clue that I have to share with somebody.
Right.
Unless she knows what it is, kind of, and wants to let Indy figure it out. So
or does she know that this is a ridiculously easy puzzle, and she's just trying to entice Indy into following along, to keeping going with the quest?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe.
It was a lot harder in the LucasArts game. I know that.
Yeah. But the whole time I'm thinking this is like the tutorial puzzle in Myst or something. It's
right.
It's just showing you how to use the controller.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes more sense if you know that she already knows exactly where the tomb is and stuff and exactly what they're going to find, and she's just letting him figure it out. Because, again, all these clues are kind of not quite clues, and they don't make a ton of sense.
Yeah.
It's almost like this banter here. The movie breezes through a lot of things that seem like they make sense, but if you have any time to think about them, you're like, whoa, what did that mean? That doesn't mean anything. Oh my God. But if you just kind of let it go, you're like, oh, they're having playful banter. Oh, they're following clues. Okay.
Right. Oh, they're Venice.
Yeah, Venice.
Venice is historical.
Yeah. It's a location.
Yeah.
Indy sounds kind of dumb here when she says, "Here's the library." He says, that doesn't look much like a library.
It's a quintessential Harrison Ford might be stoned kind of line reading. Look like a church.
Dubbed on at a later date for sure. Yeah.
I did think that was kind of strange for him as an archaeologist.
Yeah.
Just you're like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, it's also odd because Venice is not a large city.
Yeah.
And if you've been to Venice more than a couple of times, you're going to know all of these places anyway. So it's funny that he wouldn't already recognize what this place is.
Now, in real life, that's the Church of St. Barnabas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
And it's if you go today, it actually has been deconsecrated, and they have museum exhibits. Like they have a Leonardo da Vinci mechanical inventions thing there. That's kind of a semi-permanent.
Oh, that's cool.
Exhibition. Yeah.
And it's also got the honor of appearing in the opening scene of the 2003 Italian Job remake.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It says it's been used for many film sets, and then it names 2.
But you can deconsecrate the church.
That's crazy.
Like that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
You only move the headstones.
As a creative decision, though, that line that he says, doesn't look much like a library. Were they really in the edit going, people are going to look at that and say, that doesn't look like a library. We need a line in here. Harrison, could you come in for the morning and just double just leave it, man.
I guess it gives her an in, like at the beginning of the next minute, she's sort of explaining the history of the place. So I guess that gives her like a sort of segue, but it also does make Indy sound a little stupid.
Well, they could just leave his line out, and she could just say, here's the library, and Brody could just say it looks like a converted church, and that works just as well.
Or she could even say, this used to be a church. And now it's a library. This is why.
As you can see. Yeah.
If you look at your pamphlet on page 2.
Yeah.
But
And it, by the way, and the interior was not filmed here. The interior of the library was all filmed at Elstree.
Mm-hmm.
Movie magic.
Yep.
Dun, dun, dun.
Well, speaking of movie magic, anybody have anything else for minute 27?
Some magic coming over the wire.
Whoa.
Hey.
This just in from Professor Christy Porter. You know how Jonathan Carlyle thinks Marcus is demented? Well, that's because everybody's treating him that way.
Aw.
Yeah.
See, Jerry, you're letting other people's reactions to Marcus, like Indy's, cloud your view of him. And you too, Jonathan.
Or maybe the directors.
Okay. Well, also speaking of movie magic, Jamie, you've done lots of great work showing the magic of movies and how they're made. Maybe you could help tell our listeners where they can find some of that and tell them a little more about them.
Yeah, if you'd like the magic of movies spoiled and unraveled before your very eyes, you can visit my Facebook page. If you look up Filmumentaries, you can sort of spell it how it sounds. Or I'm on Twitter at JamieSWB.
And absolutely follow Jamie. He posts incredible stuff. And I remember last year you were posting just incredible videos of Star Wars stuff. Like whether it was Cammy and Fixer or if it was Chewbacca standing up there speaking in a Cockney accent or whatever. They're just absolutely beautiful stuff.
Good old man.
So check that out. Yeah. So check that out. And if you want to hear some other projects that Tom and Jerry and I are working on, please join us on Patreon, where you can hear us discuss several other Steven Spielberg movies like Jaws and Close Encounters and E.T. And we've talked about some Indiana Jones comic books, and we will be doing lots of other projects in the future. Just find us at patreon.com/Indiana Jones Minute or indianajonesminute.com/Patreon. And you can find all the other stuff we do. And you can also find us back here tomorrow for minute 28 of Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade here on the Indiana Jones Minute. I permit you, Jerry.
I permit you. It's all right. I'm not that angry. Just,
It's going to be okay.